everyone, welcome to another Overrated Saturday, and today I thought it would be interesting to briefly discuss a Roland Emmerson film. I did briefly discuss The Day After Tomorrow a while back and how I thought it was a complete, pretentious, over-the-top, uh, crazy disaster film that didn't have a whole lot of substance going for it. Well, today, as you can see by the title, we're going to be talking about 2012, which takes what The Day After Tomorrow did and ends it up to like the highest degree of really, really dumb. I'm going to kind of explain why I think that is. By the way, happy Black Friday, everybody. Hopefully it wasn't as big as a disaster as this movie that I'm about to talk about was. But the problem I have with 2012 is similar to the problems that I had with The Day After Tomorrow. But unlike The Day After Tomorrow, that at least tried to mitigate things and at least tried to take its audience relatively seriously, 2012 does not take its audience seriously at all, and it's addressing a topic, again, that is supposed to be big and is supposed to be very tragic. And I really don't understand why these films don't take its audience seriously. I understand if you're doing something more sci-fi oriented like Independence Day, which I think was an okay film for what it was. I mean, at least Independence Day knew what it was, and it wasn't trying to be anything more. 2012 doesn't really try to be anything more, but with the subject matter, I just feel like it's just very sensitive territory, and I think it just doesn't do itself justice. So without further ado, let me sort of explain why I think this film got so much hype when it initially came out, because this film made a lot of money. It's not like this film just made a couple of million, 50 million, 100 million. No. This film made $770 million. I am not kidding you. That was the amount this movie made. This was really hyped. There were tons of trailers. There was tons of crazy over-the-top action sequences, and people bought into it. But it really but that's all it has to offer, really. But basically, another thing that I think made this movie fairly hyped was because it was addressing an issue that was sort of going on during the time. So this movie came out in 2009, and it was before 2012. And during that stage, within these sort of 4 years leading up to 2012, there was a lot of coverage on 2012. All these different TV channels doing like all these 2012 specials, and getting creeped out about all the conspiracy associated with 2012. And there was this guy named Nostradamus who thought the world was going to end in 2012, and that's really what the movie was trying to cash in on. Was trying to break that mold, because during that time period, that was an issue that was covered extensively. And there were so many jokes online about the whole thing, and everybody freaking out over 2012. It was basically the next Y2K. It was really another Y2K incident, and got a lot of coverage, got a lot of attention. And that's what this movie was trying to bank on, was the fact that we had this time period where everybody was using 2012 as a topic. And the fact that people were saying that it was another end date, that it was another time when people, in particular Nostradamus, predicting sort of that would be the time period. And also Aztecs too, even though there's, I think, a lot of speculation with the Aztecs, because it wasn't really supposedly to be an end date, more of a new beginning. So again, it was, there was just a lot of hype over this issue, and a lot of people got into it and got invested into it, and I think they were sort of banking on the idea of having some entertainment value with this concept. Um, so that's what Roland Emmerich did with this movie. And again, like I said, 770 million. That's how much that movie made. Made almost as much as Transformers. Transformers made 800 something, I think. Maybe 100 million more. But still, it made a lot of money, this movie. But what are really the main issues that pull this movie down? The issues include the fact that, again, it overhypes the disaster flick, by, again, providing more visual eye candy and not a whole lot of substance. And that's a big issue, because if you want to create a disaster movie, and especially revolve it around the idea that there's people that are going to die and then it's the end of the world, you gotta at least give us some compelling characters here. I mean, there, and at least, again, like I said before, Independence Day, they're not the most compelling characters, but at the same time, there is still some sort of likability. There is sort of still some personality. Are some of them maybe considered a little bit stereotypical? Yeah, but I still feel like that they're not intended to be really insulting as more as they are just being people that sort of take on various traits that can exist, but don't, I think, intend to be insulting. Whereas this movie, you have characters that just do dumb things. Again, and I mean really, really dumb. Like they do things that are just, that make no sense, and go in places where they're not supposed to go, and they escape implausible odds too. And there's no sense of tragedy within this film. It's all action. It's all just showcasing the destruction. It's not about showing the humanity. And I think that's really the biggest issue I had with this movie. And what really bothered me about it was this fact that they were just trying to show all of this visual stuff at you and throw it at you, and then don't give you anything to back it up on. And there's nobody really to root for, and they put in, again, antagonists that they don't need to have in there, and it just becomes a very colossal mess. And I think partially, again, has to do with the fact that this movie was really banking on its visuals. And again, its trailer was really visual too. There wasn't a whole lot. Again, there was not a whole lot of context given when it came out. But at the same time, I just feel like that the fact that there was no humanity, especially in such a disaster like this one, really did not make me enjoy the movie at all. And I think that's really something that really did bother me, because the fact that they were trying to, address such a very tragic kind of scenario and not put any humanity in it, and just, show the main characters going up against a volcano and, riding away in an airplane, that there's just nothing there going for this movie. And even some, some disaster movies that aren't as good, again, The Day After Tomorrow, I mean, yes, that movie I think is a little bit pretentious, but still at the same time, it tried to at least give some likability to some of the characters. It tried to make a sort of quasi relationship between the father and the son. In here, there's really no relationships at all. And really, the movie banks on these very small, minuscule things that are within the family that they end up focusing on, that ultimately, when these things are revealed, it's like, why do I even care about this? Why was this even a point within the film? Like, this is not good character writing here. So that really, really bothered me. Just the fact that it was banking on this whole scare. And it really was, and I think that's why a lot of people bought into it. I think that's why a lot of people saw this movie. I think that's why this movie is still extensively played. Um, Again, they have good CGI going, but that's all they got. They have nothing else to it, and that's, I think, really a huge issue that I had. And again, it really focuses in on people that, again, don't really have a whole lot of character to them, and it completely sucks out the humanity of it. And I think I need to compare this, though, to a more recent film that is out right now, which is Interstellar, which focuses, again, sort of on this a similar concept, like that the world is ending for XX reasons. At least with that film, there's at least some sort of humanity to it. There is a main character who's going through something and tries to solve a problem. Um, and at the same time, there's still a real strong bond and relationship that he has supposedly with the daughter. So at least there is some human element within there. There's something that we can hold on to and identify with, and make us want to see the human race continue. 2012 doesn't offer you that, and it's really not giving you any sense of real tragedy um, and real sense of hope, and there's just nothing that this film has going for it that I can say that really touches you. It's just full. It just again, it's just all action, no substance. Similar to, I think, what a lot of films suffer nowadays: all action, no substance, and that's a huge issue. I think that's a very profoundly huge issue, especially when you want to address such a very touchy issue as the world is ending, and there's a lot of people that unfortunately pass on. If you want to address that, you gotta create some sense of seriousness to it, and or at least give somewhat likable characters to go along with that. Um, but this movie does not offer it at all, and I think it's unfortunate, but it's just kind of how this movie. It's just kind of how what this movie was banking on. I think it really was trying to bank on this whole 2012 hype. Um, I think it has eventually died down. Again, I don't think it was as well. I don't think it's as well recognized, obviously, as it is now. But when it came out, I really knew at the beginning that it was just trying to sell people on the whole hype, and I think that's why people got invested and why people uh, wanted to see the film, and that's why I think it stayed around up until 2012, until people realized, okay, that's not gonna happen, you know. And to me, that just does not say good filmmaking. Hopping on a bandwagon doesn't make a film good. And I think if you look at the plot, if you look at the characters, if you look at the story that it has going for it, you will see that there's not a whole lot to it, and that there's nothing worth investing in this movie, unless you want to see stuff blow up. I mean, but I mean, you can go and watch Independence Day and see pretty much the same thing, and at the same time, you still at least got something there of substance, and it's supposed to be sort of the end of the world, but at the same time, it's very goofy because there's aliens, and at, at least, but there's humanity. At least there's humanity. At least with The Day After Tomorrow, there was some kind of humanity, but there is nothing in 2012 that is any resemblance to anything human. It just feels like a complete CGI construct, and I can't find myself enjoying it. I really can't. No matter how hard I try, I just think that there's just nothing that's really going good for it. I think there's just too many problems. But I think that's really all I can say. I mean, is it overrated now? No. But at the time when it came out, when it was released, it did get a lot of hype. It did get a lot of again, I don't think did get praise obviously from the critics, but a lot of people went and saw the movie. A lot of people wanted to go see stuff blow up. But at the same time, they didn't get really a bang for their buck because that's all that they got. And I think it still remained in the consciousness of people until 2012 passed. And until 2012 was over, and 2013 rolled around, people didn't care anymore. And I think that's really what it was banking on. And I think that's what I think a lot of people wanted to believe in something like 2012. And again, like how a lot of people wanted to believe in something like Y2K when that happened. But, that's just kind of how trends roll. They come and they go. They come, they eat, they leave, and that's it. And this movie did bank on it, and it succeeded because it made money. And I just can't stand it. I just don't see anything of quality in it. But again, I understand if there's some people who enjoy it for the visuals, for the crazy action sequences. If you enjoy those, great. But for me, when I want to see a movie, I want to see more than just action sequences. I'm sorry. There has to be at least some cool characters in there. And again, they don't need to be, compelling, deep characters. They don't. But you need to at least make something there that's likable. And to be honest, this movie didn't have anything likable in it. At least I didn't feel anything for any of the characters. Because all they were doing was like just plot hopping from one place to the next, from one disaster to the other. Oh, we're in Yosemite, or excuse me, Yellowstone. And then we're by the ocean, and they're all gonna take us on this ship, and it's just full of it's just full of just full of just junk and nothing of value, at least in my opinion. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this film without going any further. I mean, it pretty much sums it up for itself. Like, if you watch the movie, I think will understand that. But I think, again, when it came out, there was a lot of people that really, really got into it and got invested into it. And I think all the way up to 2012, it was, considered to be, again, not by critics, obviously, but there were people that went and saw the film, and they played the film constantly on television once it was released onto DVD, and they probably even still do now. But again, that whole hype, I think, died once 2012 passed. But yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say. But again, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And again, if you share a different opinion from mine, that is totally cool. I would love to hear anybody's opinion. But I think that's ultimately all I can say. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video. Bye bye.